Jam is out of jail. And what that mean for Lil Durk? That mean that Lil Durk is done. They offering people immunity probably to get Lil Durk. They want him. They don't want nobody. Vonnie said 5 to 7 years. He broke his whole thing down. He hoping that he get 5 to 7 years rather. He don't know if he gonna get it. He just breaking down that he don't got no criminal record. And that's what Vonnie going off of. So Vonnie saying 5 to 7 years. And it's possible that the feds, the prosecutors, can grant him full immunity.
F Jam just touched down, and the very first thing he did was put his location on blast, daring anyone who had been talking reckless to come pull up. No filter, no diplomacy, just raw aggression from a man who sat in a cell while people called. Him a rat dragged his name through the mud and he couldn't say a single word back. But now he's home, and here's where it gets wild. This situation didn't start with Jam. It started at the very top, with Lil Durk himself getting hit with a federal indictment. Before we even get into that, you need to know, when Jam first came home from a previous bid, it was Durk who had his back. So how did loyalty turn into federal charges, cooperation allegations, and Jam pulling up on his own circle? Stay locked in, because this goes deeper than most people realize. To understand where Jam stands today, you have to go back to where it all began. Lil Durk, born Dirk Derrick Banks, grew up on the south side of Chicago and built his entire identity around those streets. OTF, Only the Family, wasn't just a rap label. It was a brotherhood built on loyalty long before any of them saw fame or money. Durk stood by his people through everything. When someone fell, got locked up, or needed somewhere to land, he was there. That loyalty built his reputation in the streets and the industry simultaneously. He wasn't just cutting checks. He was genuinely invested in the people around him. That matters, because the feds didn't move on Durk out of nowhere. They were watching, building a case, waiting. And when they finally made their move in 2023, it shook the entire rap world. Lil Durk was indicted on federal RICO charges, the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, a law originally built to dismantle organized crime families, now increasingly weaponized against street, crews, and rap circles. RICO doesn't just target one person for one crime. It goes after the entire organization. It says everyone who played a role in that enterprise can be held responsible. So when the government came for Durk, they weren't just saying he did something wrong. They were alleging that OTF itself was a criminal enterprise and that Durk, as the leader, was responsible for everything carried out under that umbrella. The specific charges allege that Durk had directed a murder-for-hire plot targeting fellow Chicago rapper Quando Rondo. If you remember 2021, Durk's close friend, King Von, was killed in an Atlanta shooting that involved Quando Rondo's camp. The feds allege that what followed wasn't just street beef. It was an organized, directed attempt to have Quando Rondo eliminated. And that's where things get deadly serious. A murder-for-hire charge inside a federal RICO case carries decades behind bars. The government had been watching for years before they moved. The indictment detailed alleged communications, payments, and coordination, painting Durk not as a rapper, but as someone directing violence from the top. For the rap world, this was an earthquake moment. Durk had mainstream hits, Grammy nominations, collaborations with Drake, Gunna, and Future. And now, he was sitting in a federal facility facing charges that could end his life as a free man. The fans were shook. The industry was watching. And inside the OTF circle, everyone had to be asking, what does this mean for me? That's exactly where Jam, real name Damon Tay Moore, enters the picture, and where everything gets complicated fast. Jam had been rocking with Durk and the crew for years, a real one in the circle, not some peripheral figure. He'd been through the system before, done a prior bid, and when he came home, Durk had his back. That loyalty was documented, publicly and privately. Durk helped Jam get back on his feet. That's the foundation you need to understand, because when the allegations against Jam surfaced, they didn't just damage his reputation. They felt like a stab in the back of something genuine. At some point, Jam got picked up again, and the moment he was sitting in federal custody with serious time hanging over his head, the whispers started. Word began circulating that Jam might be cooperating with the government, feeding information to federal prosecutors as part of the RICO investigation into OTF. Let that sink in. The government is actively building a case against Durk and OTF, and suddenly a member of that same circle gets arrested and rumors explode that he's working with the very people trying to bring the whole crew down. So what made people believe Jam was cooperating? This is where it gets complicated, because in these situations, the evidence rarely comes in a straight line. It comes through the grapevine, through partially public court documents, through patterns that's street-savvy. People know how to read. When someone catches serious charges and then their case goes suspiciously quiet, no court dates, charges suddenly reduced or disappearing without explanation, people in that world know exactly what that silence usually means. On top of that, specific details started circulating. Inside information. Things only someone deep in the OTF circle would know, allegedly surfacing in court discovery and prosecutor statements. The picture being painted was damning, that Jam had provided information about OTF's inner workings, specific incidents, specific people, and possibly Durk himself. In a federal RICO case, an inside cooperator is the government's most powerful weapon, and everyone watching this case understood that. So the rumors exploded. Social media, YouTube comments, DMs, everywhere people were saying the same thing. Jam is telling. Jam is working with the feds. He's a rat. For a man who had risked everything alongside these people, who came home and got back on his feet because of this same circle, those allegations were devastating. And they were spreading while he was still locked up, unable to respond, unable to defend his name. In this world, once a label sticks, it sticks. Doesn't matter how many people privately doubt it or how little actual proof exists. The label follows you, and the people doing the labeling aren't always acting in good faith. Sometimes information gets weaponized, sometimes allegations get pushed by people with their own agendas, and sometimes the person being accused has no way to fight back against something they can't even fully see. But here's where the story shifts, because Jam is not the type to let anything slide. He was never going to sit back and watch his name get destroyed in the streets without a response. While he was locked up, there wasn't much he could do. But the second those doors opened and he stepped back into the free world, he made one thing crystal clear. He had not forgotten a single word said about him while he was gone. Jam came home with a message, and it wasn't subtle. He went straight to social media, made it explicitly clear he knew everything that had been said, and addressed the cooperation allegations head-on. His position was firm. He is not a cooperator. He did not work with the feds. He did not give up information on Durk, on OTF, on anyone, period. But what separated Jam's response from a typical denial wasn't the words. It was the energy. He wasn't just defending himself, he was on full offense, and honestly, understandably so. Think about what he had been carrying, sitting in a cell, unable to say a word, while people across the internet called him a snitch and systematically dismantled his reputation in a world where that label carries real, dangerous consequences. He had been sitting with that rage the entire time he was inside, and the moment he was free, every bit of it came out. His message was clear. I know exactly who said what. I know who spread these allegations. And now that I'm home, it's time for accountability. No code, no diplomacy. He made it plain. The people who had been running their mouths while he was locked up were the exact same people who wouldn't say it to his face. And now that he was free, they had their chance. That's a specific kind of energy that only comes from one place. When your name gets violated and you're trapped, unable to do anything about it, the frustration doesn't leave when you come home. It compounds. For Jam, coming home after a federal situation while his reputation was being shredded on the outside, that energy had reached a boiling point. He wasn't looking for peace. He wasn't trying to have a conversation. He was ready to crash out on whoever needed to be crashed out on. And here's where things took a turn that had everybody talking. And I mean everybody. Jam didn't come home and drop some generic innocent statement or a few cryptic posts. He dropped his actual location, where he lives, where he stays. He put it out publicly and told anyone who had been talking crazy behind his back while he was locked up to come pull up. Come find him. Come say it to his face. Let that marinate, because this is not something you see every day. Even in this world, most people coming home from a bid want to lay low, stay out of trouble, avoid unnecessary attention, especially when there's an active federal case hovering over their crew. The last thing anyone rational is doing is broadcasting their address and inviting conflict to their front door. But Jam's mindset, if you can even call it calculated, because it may have been pure emotion, was completely different. He had sat locked up while people called him a rat. He had watched his name get destroyed. He lost sleep, lost time, lost freedom. And when he came home and found those same people still talking, his answer was simple. Fine, here I am. Come say it now. And honestly, from a certain angle, that's understandable. In the world Jam operates in, reputation isn't just about ego. It's about safety. It's about relationships. It's about whether people trust you or not. If Jam gets permanently labeled a cooperator, it affects every dimension of his life. Who works with him, who moves with him, how people treat him when he walks through the city. In that environment, defending your name sometimes means confronting it directly and aggressively. But here's what makes this complicated. Jam just came home from a federal situation. The government has been watching OTF closely. There are still active legal proceedings in that orbit. Dropping your location publicly, daring people to pull up, inviting open confrontation. All of that creates situations that can escalate fast, not just in the streets, but legally. The feds are not sleeping. Every social media post, every public statement, every invitation to conflict gets seen, documented, and in the wrong circumstances, used against you. But Jam wasn't thinking about any of that in that moment. He was home. His name had been violated, and he wanted whoever spread those allegations to face him directly. It was raw. It was real. It was exactly what happens when someone who has been holding everything in for too long finally releases it all at once. So what does Lil Durk think about all of this? What's the reaction from the top of OTF? Durk's situation right now is one of the most complex in the entire rap world. His own freedom is on the line, his own federal case, his own legal pressures. The last thing a man in that position needs is more chaos erupting inside his circle. And yet, that's exactly what's unfolding. What we know from Durk's side is that he has maintained his loyalty to OTF publicly and expressed support for his people. Given his legal situation, Durk has been extremely careful about what he says publicly, and rightfully so. Every word can potentially be used against him, but his overall posture has remained clear. Stand by his people and trust the process. As a collective, this whole situation is a stress test. Federal cases create pressure that most organizations simply cannot survive without fracturing. People get scared. People start making decisions for themselves. Trust erodes. And when trust erodes in a circle this tight, where everyone knows everything about everyone, the fallout can spiral in multiple directions at once. The cooperation allegations against Jam, whether true or not, represent exactly the kind of thing that tears a crew apart from the inside. Because once people start looking at each other sideways, once the question of who's talking and who's not enters the room, the unity that made the crew powerful begins to crack. And the government knows this. In many federal RICO cases, the strategy isn't just prosecution. It's to create so much internal pressure and suspicion that the organization destroys itself without the government having to do much else. Step back from the personalities for a second and look at the pattern, because this keeps repeating itself. Federal RICO cases targeting rap crews have exploded over the last decade. Young Thug and YSL in Atlanta, Gunna getting swept into that same case. Casanova in New York. case after case, where the government drops a massive indictment, locks up multiple people at once, then squeezes to see who breaks. The pressure isn't just legal, it's personal, financial, emotional. People sitting in federal custody, away from their families, staring at decades of potential prison time, while the government dangles a deal that could change everything. Not everyone takes it. Some hold the line completely, some cooperate on certain things and not others. Some get pressured into decisions they later regret, and some get accused of cooperating when they never did, because someone else in the situation wants to create chaos, muddy the waters, deflect attention from themselves. It's a complicated world where the truth is hard to establish from the outside. What Jam is facing, coming home to cooperation allegations he flatly denies, is unfortunately not unique. It's a pattern that plays out repeatedly in these situations. And coming home loud, aggressive, putting in a full display of street credibility and defiance, that's also a pattern. It's a way of saying, I'm not hiding, I'm not scared. Come verify whatever you think you know about me. Here's where I land on all of this. OTF Jam is a man who walked out of incarceration, federal scrutiny, and devastating cooperation allegations. And the very first thing he did was stand directly in the fire. Whether you agree with how he handled it or not, you have to understand where that energy comes from. When your name is everything and your name gets violated, especially in a world where that violation carries real consequences, the response is never going to be calm or calculated. It's going to be raw. The loyalty Durk showed Jam when he first came home from his previous bid was real. And Jam coming home now, fighting for his reputation, is in his mind a way of honoring that loyalty, proving he is exactly who he always said he was, that he didn't fold, that the allegations were lies. The real tragedy here is that everyone in this situation is caught in the downstream effects of a federal investigation specifically designed to create this kind of chaos. That's the government's play in a RICO case. Make people turn on each other, make the organization implode, make trust impossible. And whether we're talking about Durk facing his own charges, Jam battling these allegations, or OTF as a whole trying to hold together, the federal pressure is working on some level, even if nobody inside will ever admit it. At the end of the day, Jam is home. That matters. He fought through whatever he had to fight through and came out the other side still standing. His response is aggressive and confrontational, but it's also honest. He's not pretending everything is fine. He's telling the world exactly where he stands and exactly what time it is. And given everything that was said about him while he was locked up, you cannot say he didn't come home with smoke. Whether that smoke leads somewhere productive or creates more problems down the road, only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Jam is not the one to let anything slide. He came home. He said what he said. He dropped his location. And now he's waiting to see who's really about that energy they were showing on the internet. Something tells me not many people are going to pull up. Stay tuned. This situation is far from over.